support from Premier Floyd. And he's that guy that is elevating my articulation to another level. So today he's going to come up and speak with us about the art of storytelling and how you can incorporate stories in making your presentation impactful. Come on up, there he is. Give him a hand. Now we tested him today because now we don't have a microphone, so he's got to project. Go for it, brother.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And I'm very proud of my students, and I enjoy Thomas. He has a phenomenal story about coming from New Orleans, so if you get a chance to sit down with Thomas, it's an amazing story. So I want to start a sentence, and I want you to finish the sentence for me. The greatest form of advertising is
Word of mouth.
word of mouth. But I want to add one word to that sentence. The greatest form of advertising is your word of mouth. Your word is your wings to soar into your purpose. Repeat after me. My words are my wings, to soar into my purpose. There's only one challenge. The greatest American fear is the fear of public speaking. As a matter of fact, people fear public speaking more than they fear death.
Wow.
That means they'd rather be in the casket than give the eulogy. I can relate. Because if you caught me at 13 years old, I was terrified of speaking in front of people. As a matter of fact, at 13 years old, I flunked my first acting class because every time I stood up in front of people, I would always forget my lines. Now, listen, I've been this size since I was 13 years old. I had sideburns, I had a deep voice, I had a 19-year-old girlfriend. It was the 80s, We didn't know any better. But I wanted to get up and speak in front of people. But I was afraid. The only way I knew how to communicate was with my fist. Being 13 years old, I studied martial arts, and because I was this size, I was a prime target for gang life. And I got involved. And I ended up getting in trouble, and the vice principal of the school got a hold to me. And he sat me down and he said, you can continue to go this route and end up in juvenile home or end up in jail, or you can do what I know you love to do, which is theater. Or I can tell you daddy. Now let me be clear. How many of y'all seen Good Times? My father was the real James Evans. You can do whatever you want, but please don't tell my daddy. And in a moment of mindfulness, I made a decision to go the route that I've been going and to become an actor. And one day I was walking home from the play that I was in. In that audience was the gang members that I was involved with. And I was walking home, and how many of y'all seen Boys in the Hood? So a car slowly pulls up, windows slowly roll down, and they tell me to get in the car. And as the member was driving, he was looking in the rear view, and he said, you know what? We saw that play you was in, and we see your talent. We don't want you to go this route. And they let me out of the car, and that was my last experience with that gang. And I took this decision, and I stood in front of people, but I was still afraid until someone saw something in me that I did not see in myself. And the answer to the fear of public speaking is one word, and that word is technique. And I'm going to teach you one technique that's going to help you. And it is also one word. And the one technique that you can learn that will help you overcome your fear of public speaking is storytelling. When you tell a story, when you tell me a story, images come up in my mind. I relate it to things in my life. I have an emotional connection with it. And then there's an emotional connection with you. Storytelling is powerful. For instance, there was a young man back in the 60s who wrote a screenplay that was very, very bad. As a matter of fact, none of the studios wanted to make the movie. And so he ran across a book called Hero with 1,000 Faces. Have you heard of that book?
Yes.
Hero with 1,000 Faces, and this is written by Joseph Campbell. And in this book is a concept called the hero's journey. So he was super excited about this concept. So he went to study it at this university, audited the class. He took the knowledge that he had of the hero's journey, brought it back to his screenplay, rewrote it, and the studios loved it. They loved it so much, they turned it into a movie in 1978. It's had many, many sequels. It is a multi-billion-dollar franchise, and it is called Star Wars. And the young man's name is George Lucas. He wrote a screenplay about Flash Gordon, and it was so bad, but what was it about the hero's journey that turned this bad screenplay into a multi-billion-dollar franchise? And it's the story structure of the hero journey. And I'm going to show you 5 things that's going to help you tell better stories, that's going to help you overcome the fear of public speaking. There are 5 P's. Repeat after me. Purpose.
Purpose.
Person.
Person.
Place.
Place.
Problem.
Problem.
And payoff.
Payoff.
Purpose. What is the purpose of the story? How does it serve the value you want the audience to walk away with? Person. Who are the people within the story, the characters that are going to interact with one another, because we grow a connection to those characters and relate them to our own lives or people that are in our lives. Place. Where is it happening? Because it'll help shape the mood of the story. Problem. What is the conflict? You can't have a story without conflict. And payoff. What is the reward or the solution that connects to the value and the purpose? For instance, about 30 years ago, there was a young man who had just lost his mother to breast cancer, and he was so broken that he lost his will to live. And he carried pills in his pocket for the day in which he would do it. And he was in New York, and he got on a subway train. It was an empty box. And he sat down, but across from him was another man with a bright face, bright eyes, smiling at him. And if you know anything about yoga, he was sitting in lotus position. Now, the young man had always wanted to take yoga. So he thought he would ask the yogi sitting across from him. He said, "Are you a yogi?" And the man said, "I am." And the young man said, "Will you teach yoga?" And the yogi said, "I do." And the young man said, "Well, will you teach me?" And the yogi said, "I will." And the young man said, "How much?" And the yogi said, "Nothing." So the young man traveled to Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, to learn yoga. But the yogi noticed something about the young man. Every time the young man came to his place, the yogi saw that the young man was very, very sad. So the yogi sat the young man down. And the yogi decided to tell the young man his story about how 20 years ago he lost his will to live, and he carried pills in his pocket for the day in which he would do it. And he did it. He did it. And as the yogi was hovering above his body, he saw his family members coming into the hospital room mourning the death of their young loved one. And the yogi was so distraught within himself, he wished that he could live again. And before he knew it, he found himself back in his body. And he decided from that moment on that he would dedicate his life to the happiness of others, and that he would do it with yoga. And so, after the yogi finished speaking, the young man slowly reached into his pocket and he pulled out the pills. And the yogi said, so this is the reason why I was led to tell this story. 5 P's. Purpose, person, place, problem, and payoff. Purpose. What's the purpose of the story? The purpose of the story is this. Roughly about 75% of Americans are dealing with depression. And a percentage of that are contemplating suicide. Do you know what that means in reality? Statistically, that 75% of you in this room are dealing with some form of depression, and that possibly a few of you in this room are thinking about suicide. And the purpose of the story is to let you know you are not alone. Person, the characters in the story, is the young man, and there's the yogi. They're the family members to help you empathize with the story. The place. It takes place on a subway train and in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. What does that tell you? This yogi might not be in East India. Bensonhurst is a predominantly Italian neighborhood. Problem, the conflict. You know from the very beginning that there's a young man who's contemplating suicide. And it draws you in because you want to see if this yogi can possibly save this young man's life. Place, we talked about that. And then payoff. I didn't get into the payoff. And so the young man took the pills out of his pocket. And the yogi said, so this is the reason why I was led to tell this story. Well, you have a decision to make. You can leave these pills here with me, or you can take the pills with you and do as you will. And so the young man had to make a choice. He could choose to leave the pills and live, or he could choose to take the pills away and die. And the young man, in the moment of mindfulness, made a decision to take the pills and leave them with the yogi, and went on to live his life, and went on to start a career, and went on to be an actor, speaker, and coach, and that young man is standing before you today. True story. Person, place, purpose, person, place, problem, and payoff. And that's the payoff. What is the payoff? It's the solution that's connected to the value you want to leave with the people that you're speaking with. When you anchor yourself in this technique, you can overcome the fear of public speaking because you're going to speak about the things that you have life experience with, the things that you are an expertise in, and you're going to think more about the other person than yourself, which is going to alleviate some of that fear. And your words will be your wings that'll soar you into your purpose. Now, I want to leave you with a little story. And it's all about an eagle who thought he was a chicken. One day, an eagle's egg was placed into the nest of chickens. And one day, the eagle hatched, and he looked around and he saw he was surrounded by all these little chickens. So the eagle, he began to act like a chicken. The eagle began to walk like a chicken. The eagle began to talk like a chicken. The eagle pecked his neck in the ground like a chicken, and he flew only a few feet off the ground like a chicken. But one day, the eagle grew up, and he looked into the sky, and he saw a speck. Now you got to imagine, he would dream about himself being able to do this, but was always discouraged by his fellow chickens. And the speck became a ball, and the ball became a bird, and the bird became a huge beast, flying in the sky, soaring in the winds. And the eagle, who thought he was a chicken, said to his neighbor who was a chicken, "Wow, what kind of bird is that? I want to be just like him." But chicken, the dream killer, come on, said, "Oh, that is an eagle, the king of all the birds. But don't you give it a second thought. You'll never, ever be like him." And so the eagle didn't give it a second thought and was going to die, thinking he was a chicken. Until the big old beautiful brown bird in the sky, flying in the sky, soaring in the wind, saw the eagle playing with the chicken. He said, "Hey there, young fella, what you doing down there with all them chickens? Why don't you come on up here with me and fly high in the sky and soar in the winds?" But the eagle, who thought he was a chicken, said, "Excuse me, sir, you're greatly mistaken. I am a chicken." With a big old brown bird laughed, "The devil is a lie. You are an eagle. Why, look at your big old brown feathers. Help protect you when you're flying close to the sun. And look at your big old brown wings. Help power yourself up here. Woo-hoo! Look at your big old feet. Help you catch your prey. And your fierce eyes to help you have great vision." Well, the chicken, the dream killer, said to him, "Don't listen to the big old brown bird in the sky. He's lying to you. Besides, nobody is allowed to fly any higher than any of us can fly. You are a chicken. You're just a deformed chicken. That's the reason why you look the way you do." Well, the eagle, who thought he was a chicken, had to make a choice. He could choose to believe he was an eagle, or he could choose to believe he was a chicken. And there was a sense of freedom in the choice. So he chose to believe he was an eagle. And he began to flap his wings. And he flew higher and higher. And he grew stronger and stronger, flying high into his destiny, saying, "I am the wind," says the eagle within. "I am the wind that wrestles the air grown thin. I am the strength you found my weakness in. But in my weakness then I find my blessings begin. Suffering is the daughter of struggle. Struggle is the grandmother of success descend. Success is the man-child of miracles, crucified by jealousy, the closest friend. Resurrection overcomes hatred. Hatred is the uncle of revenge. Revenge is converted by love. Love makes broken hearts mend. Mended hearts bring truth. Truth is the root that makes the tallest tree ascend. These trees create the oxygen that makes me again the wind. I am the wind, says the eagle within. I am the wind that wrestles the air grown thin. I am the strength you found my weakness in. But in my weakness then I find my blessings begin. I am the wind that brings victory to those who succeed at failing. I am the rudder that directs the warships that must go sailing. I journey the motions of light till the track of the train be derailing. I ride the naked road still to reach the town in my wailing. And though the tears sweat out rain, evaporated by solar pain, and the stain is left by the blood, and the blood reaches the brain, and sacrifices are performed to thought, and thought is where my power remain. My thought emails ideas to action, and action it is when I am the wind again. I am the wind, says the eagle within. I am the wind that wrestles the air grown thin. I am the strength you found my weakness in, but in my weakness then I find my blessings begin. I am the wind in the moments when you think you might lose. I am the pearl of wisdom found by the simplest fool. I've walked with fallen angels and dined with them over booze. And fallen angels are former demons, and demons are the diamonds we did not choose. And choice is the voice that shouts from the suntop, that reaches the real till you feel the true shock, and shake and shame the name that lies cocked, to bring the snitch to fill the stitch till the lies stop, but cannot stop these wings. My heart, these wings that soar across the sky, these wings, I am the breath beneath the butterfly, these wings, this grace that glides along the wind, these wings that make rejected stones ascend, these wings, fresh faith, I was the doubting door, I am no more, but am that stone that with the Christ pristine angels adore, these wings you hear the sound that sings, and rings the bells beneath bathing streams, baptized in crystal fire, never again to live beneath the higher life, letting loose like lightning, looking lethal, luring little leaves, lubricating love letters launched from the Lord. Triple darkness overcome, but not the sun. He be the righteous one. His rock cannot be moved. He is the King of glory. His name, my friend, I am that I am. Therefore, I am the wind. I am the wind, says the eagle within. I am the wind that wrestles the air grown thin. I am the strength you found my weakness in, but in my weakness then I find my blessings begin. Be the eagle. Use your words. God bless you.